I wasn't ready for what he showed me. I didn't expect the shaking, the urgency, the fire that filled my spirit when I realized heaven had started moving and the countdown had already begun. And I don't care if you believe in signs or visions or prophecy, but if you found this message, it's not by accident. God is trying to reach you, and if you don't stop everything right now and listen, you might miss the most important moment of your life. Something is going to happen in the next 72 hours, and you need to hear this, because what's coming is not just a change, it's a divine collision between what you've prayed for and what heaven has prepared for you. So don't scroll, don't blink, don't walk away, because this may be the very warning or the very answer you've been crying for, and you're running out of time.
I couldn't sleep that night. Something inside me kept turning and twisting like a storm, quietly whispering through the walls of my heart. I sat there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering what this strange heaviness was. I knew deep down it wasn't just anxiety or stress. It was something more, something divine, something urgent. And as I closed my eyes to pray, I felt this overwhelming silence descend on me. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that feels full, like something holy is about to happen. And I heard it. Not with my ears, but with my soul. It wasn't a voice, it was a knowing, a deep, sacred understanding that the next 72 hours would change everything, not just for me, but for anyone who would be willing to listen, anyone whose heart was open enough to receive what God is about to do. And I know I sound crazy, I know I sound dramatic, but you need to hear this. You need to sit with me and lean in. Because what I'm about to share with you is not just a message, it's a revelation, it's a warning, it's a promise, it's a roadmap. And if you miss it, you might miss your moment, you might miss your miracle. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to look back 3 days from now and wish you had taken this seriously. Because I know how it feels to miss a divine appointment. I know how it feels to walk past an open door just because I didn't know it was mine to walk through. So please, stay with me. Let me take you into this story, into this vision, into this sacred space where God showed me the next 72 hours and why they matter more than we could ever imagine. It started with a dream, but it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real, too real, more vivid than anything I've ever seen before. I was standing in the middle of a field. The sky was gray, the wind was strong, and there was a sound like distant thunder rolling across the heavens. And then suddenly everything stopped. The wind, the sound, the movement. It was like the world paused. And then I saw him. Not with my physical eyes, but with the eyes of my spirit. And he was standing in front of me. Not angry, not loud, but fierce with love, burning with clarity. And he reached out his hand, not to touch me, but to point toward the horizon. And when I turned to look, I saw it. A wave, a massive wave made of light and time and truth. And it was coming, not to destroy, but to reveal. And I heard these words, so clear, so sharp, they pierced my entire being. He said, "Tell them they have 72 hours. Tell them I am about to separate the noise from the voice, the distractions from the direction, the pressure from the purpose. And those who are listening will rise, and those who are not will stumble." And I remember waking up breathless, crying without knowing why. And I fell to my knees and I asked, "What does this mean? What am I supposed to do?" And the answer came not in words, but in signs, in moments, in confirmations that followed me every step of the way. And now I'm here telling you this because you need to know, you need to prepare, not with fear, but with faith, not with panic, but with purpose. Because something is coming, something is shifting, and you are a part of it.
You see, the next 72 hours are not just random days. They are an invitation. They are a window, a divine countdown that if you take seriously could open doors you never imagined, could heal wounds you thought were permanent, could answer prayers you almost gave up on. And I know what you're thinking. What can really happen in 72 hours? What can change in just 3 days? Let me tell you, everything. Everything can change in a moment, let alone in 72 hours. Destinies can shift, chains can break, hearts can heal, and the impossible can finally surrender to the hand of God. But only if you believe, only if you act, only if you choose to step out of the noise and into the sacred silence where His voice still speaks. So I want you to sit with this. I want you to feel this, because the urgency you feel right now, that stirring in your chest, that trembling in your spirit, it's not just emotion, it's confirmation. It's heaven knocking on your door, asking if you're ready, if you're willing, if you'll say yes, even when you don't understand. Because faith was never about understanding. It was always about obedience, about trust, about taking the first step before you see the staircase. And in the next 72 hours, God is going to ask you to do something, to say something, to believe something, and you need to be ready. You need to be awake, because the enemy is loud, but God is precise. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake the storm for the sign and the pain for the punishment, when really, it's just preparation.
I remember walking through that day carrying the weight of that message like fire in my bones. Everywhere I looked, it was like I could feel the countdown ticking in the air. People rushing through their lives, unaware of the shift that was beginning, unaware that heaven was already moving, that God had already released something into the atmosphere. And it wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, it was quiet, subtle, holy, like a whisper you almost miss unless your soul is tuned to it. And I kept hearing the same phrase over and over again in my heart. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Not to the news, not to the drama, not to the distractions, but to the still small voice, to the moments of clarity in the chaos, to the doors that don't look like doors at first glance, because God doesn't move the way we expect Him to. And I knew then that these 72 hours were not just about waiting, they were about watching. They were about waking up to what is already in motion. So I went on with my day, but I was different. I could feel something shifting in me, like something old was breaking off, like something deep was being reborn. And I wasn't afraid. I was just aware that I was standing on holy ground, not a physical place, but a spiritual moment, a divine opportunity that required my full attention. And as I walked past people, I started seeing things differently, like I could feel their pain, their fear, their exhaustion. And I wanted to scream, to shake them, to say, do you know what's coming? Do you know how close we are? Do you know that God is about to move in a way that will expose everything false and elevate everything true? And you need to be ready. But I didn't scream. I just watched, and I prayed, and I listened, because I knew that those who were meant to hear this would hear it, and those who were not would scroll past, would ignore it, would mock it. But that's not my concern. My concern is obedience. My concern is releasing what was put in me before it explodes from the inside out. And then, something happened. I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, a voice from my past, a voice I had prayed I'd never hear again. And I almost didn't pick up, but something in me said, this is part of it. This is part of the 72 hours. And when I answered, they were crying, broken, humble, nothing like the person I remembered. They said, I don't know why, but I felt like I had to call you. Something told me I had to talk to you, and I knew right then that this was it. This was the beginning of the wave of reconciliation, restoration, redemption, not just for me, but for others, for families, for friendships, for faith that had been hanging on by a thread. And we talked and cried and forgave and healed, and when I hung up, I heard it again. Tell them this is what I meant. I'm not just moving in churches or in sermons. I'm moving in living rooms, in phone calls, in dreams, in tears, in moments that look ordinary but carry eternity within them.
So I'm telling you now, don't wait. Don't waste these hours on distractions or bitterness or fear. Spend them wisely. Spend them boldly. Call who you need to call. Forgive who you need to forgive. Speak what you've been afraid to say. Do what you've been delaying, because heaven is watching and all of creation is groaning for the children of God to rise, not to perform, not to pretend, but to be real, to be raw, to be ready. And I know it's not easy. I know it feels heavy, but I promise you, there is grace for this. There is power in this, and there is reward on the other side of this. And if you feel like giving up, if you feel like nothing is changing, please hold on, because in these 72 hours, mountains will move and eyes will open, and God will reveal the reason for every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every painful detour you've ever walked through. I know what it's like to feel forgotten, to feel like heaven has gone silent, like your prayers are just echoes bouncing off the walls of your heart. But I need you to trust me when I say that silence is not absence, that delay is not denial, that the waiting has not been wasted, and God is not done. He is not late. He is not unaware. He is orchestrating something you couldn't imagine even if he told you. And he's doing it now, in this moment, in these 72 hours. And if you surrender, if you listen, if you obey, you will see it. You will see it. I promise you that. That night, I sat by my window and looked at the sky, and I asked God, what do I do now? How do I not miss it? How do I stay aligned? And I felt this stillness wrap around me like a blanket. And I knew the answer wasn't in doing more, it was in becoming still. It was in quieting the noise around me and the chaos inside of me long enough to hear him again. And that's when it hit me. Most of us are waiting for a sign while drowning in signs. Most of us are asking for clarity while ignoring the whispers we already received. Most of us are begging for a miracle while standing in the middle of one. And I knew I had to repent. I knew I had to release every expectation, every fear, every plan that didn't come from him. And I whispered these words with trembling lips. I trust you, even if I don't understand. And something broke in me. Not in a painful way, but in a freeing way. Like I had been carrying weight that was never mine to carry. And in that breaking came clarity. In that surrender came strength. And I knew this was the posture I had to hold for the next 72 hours. Not fear, not control, not anxiety, but surrender, stillness, sensitivity. The next morning, something unexpected happened. I woke up with the name on my heart. A girl I hadn't spoken to in so long, someone who had hurt me deeply, someone I thought I had let go of, and yet her name wouldn't leave me. And I felt the nudge again, reach out, and I fought it. I told myself she doesn't deserve it. She never apologized. She never made it right. But then I heard it again. This isn't about her. It's about you. It's about obedience. It's about unlocking something in the spirit that pride will never open. And so I sent the message. Not with bitterness, not with expectation, just love, just honesty, just obedience. And I didn't expect a reply, but she responded almost immediately. She told me she had been thinking about me all week. She told me she felt guilt and shame and didn't know how to make it right. And right there in the middle of my kitchen with tears in my eyes, I realized what God was doing. These 72 hours were not just about the spectacular. They were about the sacred. They were about softening hearts, healing wounds, rewriting stories with the ink of grace. And I felt him whisper again, tell them, if they forgive, they will be free. If they love, they will be healed. If they humble themselves, they will see me move. And I want you to hear me when I say this. I know you've been through things that feel unforgivable. I know you've held on to pain for so long it's become a part of your identity. But God is calling you to release it. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. You deserve to be free. You deserve to breathe again. You deserve to move forward without carrying yesterday like a chain around your soul. And in the next 72 hours, God is giving you the strength to do that. To let go, to lay it down, to walk away from what has weighed you down for far too long. But you have to choose it. You have to want it more than you want revenge, more than you want justice, more than you want closure. Because real healing comes when you realize you don't need closure to be whole. You just need God.
And as the hours passed, I started noticing things I'd never seen before. People were showing up in my life who carried exactly what I'd been praying for. Conversations were shifting. Atmospheres were changing. Opportunities were being whispered through the cracks of my ordinary life. And I knew this wasn't coincidence. This was divine. This was God aligning things I didn't even know needed alignment. And I felt it so strong. This is what happens when you obey. This is what happens when you stop trying to control the outcome and just say yes to the process, even when it's messy, even when it's scary, even when it costs you your pride, your comfort, your plans. Because in these 72 hours, the blessing is hidden in obedience. The breakthrough is hidden in surrender, and the miracle is hidden in your yes. So please, I'm begging you, don't treat this as just another video, just another message. Let this be your turning point. Let this be your divine interruption, because if you're listening to this, it's not by accident. It's not random. It's a holy setup. It's heaven tugging at your heart saying, child, I have more for you. Child, I'm not finished with you. Child, the pain you've been carrying is about to become purpose. The questions you've been asking are about to be answered in ways you never saw coming. But you must remain open. You must remain willing. You must remain in position, because the wave is moving and you don't want to miss it. I remember looking at the clock. It had already been over 20 hours since I first felt that shift, and something inside me was counting down. Not with panic, but with this deep anticipation. Like I was waiting for a door that opened that had been locked for years, and I didn't know what was behind it. I just knew it was good. I just knew it was God. And I kept hearing the same thing again and again. Stay ready, stay aware, stay in the posture of faith. And I want to tell you this too, because maybe you're wondering, what does staying ready even mean? It's not about being perfect. It's not about pretending to have it all together. It's about being available. It's about waking up every day and saying, God, I don't know what you're going to do today, but I'm here for it. I'm here for the stretching, the trusting, the learning, the letting go. I'm not going to run away from the process just because it's uncomfortable, because I know what's on the other side is worth it. And then it happened. I was walking to the store, just a normal day, just a normal errand. But the presence of God fell on me so heavy I almost couldn't breathe. I had to stop. I had to close my eyes right there on the sidewalk because something holy was happening. And I heard it again. This is it. This is one of the moments. And I opened my eyes, and there was a woman across the street, sitting alone on a bench, crying. And I knew instantly that I was supposed to talk to her. I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't have a script. I didn't have a plan, but I walked over and I just sat down next to her and I said, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm supposed to tell you that God hasn't forgotten you. And she looked at me with eyes so wide, so broken, and she said, I was just about to give up. I told God 5 minutes ago that if he was real, he would send someone. And now here you are. And we both cried, and we both prayed, and I walked away shaking because I realized that God wasn't just moving in my life, he was moving through my life. And the same goes for you. The next 72 hours aren't just about what you receive, they're about what you release. You are the miracle for someone else. You are the answer to someone's prayer. You are the confirmation they've been waiting for. But only if you say yes. Only if you step out when it makes no sense. Only if you're willing to be used even when it's inconvenient. I know it's easier to stay hidden. I know it's safer to stay silent, but safe won't stretch you, and hidden won't heal you. You have to come out. You have to speak up. You have to step into the light, because the gifts inside of you weren't meant to stay buried. They were meant to break chains, to light fires, to shift atmospheres. And I know you don't feel ready. I know you don't feel qualified, but neither did I, and neither did anyone God ever used. But he doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And he's calling you right now through these words, through this moment, through this divine encounter. And you can ignore it or you can embrace it. But don't say he didn't try to reach you. Don't say he didn't give you a window. Don't say he didn't warn you that something was coming, because this is the warning. This is the wake up. This is the whisper that becomes a roar if you're really listening. I can't explain everything that's happening. I can't map out every moment or answer every question, but I can tell you this with everything in me. These 72 hours are holy. They are strategic. They are weighty, and they are filled with opportunity that looks ordinary until heaven breathes on it. So stay sensitive, stay humble, stay ready, because the phone call that heals your heart could come in the next hour. The idea that shifts your future could hit you in your sleep. The open door you've been fasting for could swing wide with one act of obedience. And I want to tell you this too, because maybe you're wondering, what does staying ready even mean? It's not about being perfect. It's not about pretending to have it all together. It's about being available. It's about waking up every day and saying, God, I don't know what you're going to do today, but I'm here for it. I'm here for the stretching, the trusting, the learning, the letting go. I'm not going to run away from the process just because it's uncomfortable, because I know what's on the other side is worth it. And maybe you've been feeling tired. Maybe you've been feeling numb. Maybe you've been wondering if you missed your chance, if you messed up too much, if you waited too long. Let me tell you, no, you are not late. You are right on time, and God is not finished with you. He is just getting started. And everything you've walked through, every storm, every tear, every lonely night was preparing you for this window, for this shift, for this 72-hour alignment of heaven and earth. And if you say yes, if you stay the course, if you lean in instead of checking out, you will not just witness it, you will walk in it, and it will change everything.
And now here we are. The 72 hours have almost passed. Or maybe for you, they're just beginning. And I need you to understand something. This wasn't just a video. This wasn't just another message meant to inspire or entertain. This was a call. This was a moment where heaven touched earth through words, through emotion, through urgency. And if you've made it this far, if you've listened with your heart, not just your ears, then you know this was for you. This was your sign. This was your confirmation that God sees you, that He's been speaking all along, that He's been preparing you for something so much greater than what you've settled for. And I know it's scary. I know it's unknown. I know it's uncomfortable, but I promise you, He is worth it. The process is worth it. The breakthrough is worth it. And even if nothing looks different right now, even if everything still feels messy and confusing, keep going. Keep believing, because you've already shifted in the spirit. You've already said yes, and that yes has power. There's a reason you couldn't walk away from this. There's a reason your spirit kept pulling you back to these words, because something in you knows, something in you recognizes that this is divine, that this is deeper than motivation or emotion. This is about alignment. This is about destiny. And I believe with everything in me that in the next days, weeks, even moments, you are going to see why you had to hear this, why you had to surrender, why you had to walk through everything you've walked through. Because God wastes nothing, and He uses everything. And what you thought was breaking you has actually been building you. And you're about to step into the proof of that. So take a deep breath right now. Not out of relief, but out of release. Release the fear. Release the doubt. Release the old stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. And begin to walk like someone who's been chosen, like someone who's been marked, like someone who's been anointed for such a time as this, because that's exactly who you are. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are exactly where you need to be. And God is not just with you, He's ahead of you already, making a way. And all He's asking is that you keep saying yes. Keep trusting. Keep surrendering, and let Him do the rest. This is not the end. This is the beginning. And I believe that when you look back on this moment, you'll remember it not just as another video, but as the turning point, the awakening, the divine interruption that changed everything. Because heaven chose to speak, and you chose to listen. And now nothing will ever be the same again. The next 72 hours are holy. Protect them, honor them, walk through them with your eyes wide open and your heart fully surrendered, and watch what God will do.